Who gets the 5th Champions League spot next year? That juicy extra seat that grants you Champions League nights and a couple of millions just for participating in the group stages. As you know, each season the leagues compete in somewhat of a strange made-up point system that UEFA have, and the results are solely dependent on each team's performance in Europe. But how does this actually work, as I often hear people saying, "Oh, that's so unfair, EPL or Liga or whatever league it is so much stronger this year. How did they not get the extra spot?" And quite frankly, I agree with some of these statements, because I also find the formula kind of overlooked in some aspects. But it would be stupid to judge something without first looking at its actual structure. This year, a few changes have been made, because you know that there is a new UCL format with 36 teams instead of 32 as it was traditionally. So for this occasion, ESPN dropped some knowledge on us when it comes to the new bonus point system, and that's pretty much the only difference to previous years. Each league receives the same amount of points if their teams perform in either one of the European competitions. So that means even if your team is in the Conference League, a win would be as valuable as if your team wins in the Champions League. The difference though is that there is a vital importance as to where your team finishes in the table and whether it qualifies for the knockout rounds. Of course, that could mean that if one team is performing really well in the Conference League against opponents such as Petrolcup and Noah, it could be more important than another team facing Real Madrid and Manchester City in the UCL, which is beyond me. But the bonus point system balances things at least a little. The higher you finish, the more points you get. Bigger competition means bigger prizes. So after all scores are settled and points are awarded to determine the league's result, you divide the total to the number of participants from that same league. And of course, every club wants to play in Europe because of the emotions, the chance to prove yourself and blah blah blah. All of that is true, but there is one key aspect that makes participating in Europe a target number one. Football is more and more business, and this year the amount of money that's going to be spread throughout the clubs is increased, which makes sense considering that there are 4 more teams. May I have your attention here? 2.437 billion euro, more than 400 million more, and rest assured it will get even bigger in the years to follow. So if you, let's say, at least qualify for this competition, which for a smaller club is fairly hard to do, you receive 18.62 million euros. And if you manage to get even one win, which UEFA awards with 2.1 million, and lose the next 7, you go home with almost 21 million. A draw is also important as it gives you 700,000 euros. But getting results means one more thing: climbing the Champions League table. And there is also a bonus for that, as you might have guessed. The bonus consists of 666 shares. 36th place gives you 1 share. Next place gives 2, the place after that 3, and so on and so forth until we go to first place, which gets 36 shares, with 1 share worth 275,000 euros. Judging by this year's standings, 3 points can pretty much mean you get 32nd place out of all 36. And if we do the math, those are 5 shares, which equal around 1.5 million. So now this fairly low ranked team, who managed only 1 win and lost 7 times, gets more than 22 million in its pocket. And let's be honest, those money can be crucial for a small team if used appropriately after that. And this is where things get interesting, and I'll quote this one because I'm not really sure that I can interpret it. The value pillar revolves around media rights, and Sporting News wrote, "The amounts allocated will be proportional to the outcome of media rights sales in UEFA markets and markets outside of the governing body's jurisdiction concluded by 1st of July 2024, and that participating countries are ranked based on their domestic broadcasters' contribution to the overall media revenue." I'm not going to dive into thorough explanations, just that this factor depends a lot on the country of origin for a certain team and their overall European performance. But it is a vital part of the whole budget, being 35% from it, or 853 million. So even if you're placed last in the ranking system that I'm not even gonna try to explain, you're guaranteed to receive 1 share worth almost 1.3 million. So I think that pretty much answers the question why participation in the Champions League and any other of the European competitions is so highly regarded by every club. But who gets the 2 extra spots? As of now, the answer is England, and and Italy, which I don't think comes as a surprise for any of us. England has all his participants still in the competitions and 2 of them occupying top spots in Champions League and Conference League. Italy's teams are also performing really well, such as Inter, Lazio, Atalanta, etc. I'm pulling up the table so far and you can see the gaps are already huge, so if nothing major happens, as last year when England experienced the quarterfinal tragedy pretty much everywhere, things are probably going to stay the same.